Hello, friends. I hope everybody's well today. 3 weeks ago, to be precise, on the 17th of February 2026, I read a letter by written by William Adams to his unknown friends and countrymen, which appears in this book. Let's have a look. Let's see if we can get. Yeah, there we are. Letters written by the English residents in Japan. This is the Forgotten Books version. Edited by Murakami. That's Naojiro Murakami. First published in, I think, 1900 or somewhere. Time. Yes, 1900. So these are letters written by the English residents in Japan, 1611 to 1623, with other documents on English trading settlement in Japan in the 17th century. This book is published in Tokyo, was published in Tokyo in 1900. Murakami was the main publisher, or the main editor, sorry. All right, so let me share the text of the letter that I want to read today, which, let me see if I can find that. Oh, no, that's wrong. Sorry, we're going in the wrong place here. Unshare, stop that share. No, this one I want. So let's see where we can find it. Uh, beg your pardon there. There we are. I think that's it there. Good. So letter number two. I've read letter number one. So let's go to letter number two. Concurrently with the preceding, William Adams addressed a letter to his wife, of which a fragment has been preserved by purchase. It contains some interesting additional touches that contribute to the completion of the picture already given. So if you've already seen the video, which I did 3 weeks ago, this is the kind of supplement, or gives you, it completes the picture. William Adams to his wife, loving wife, and this would be Mary, back in England, Mary Hyn, Hyn. You shall understand how all things have passed with me from the time of mine absence from you. We set sail with 5 ships from the Texel in Holland, the 24th of June, 1598, and departed from the coast of England the 5th of July. And the 21st of August, we came to one of the isles of Capo Verde called Santiago, where we abode 24 days, in which time many of our men fell sick through the unwholesomeness of the air, and are general among the rest. So the man in overall charge of the voyage. Now, the reason that we abode so long at these islands was that one of the captains of our fleet made our general believe that at these islands we should find great store of refreshing, as goats and other things, which was untrue. Here I and all the pilots of the fleet were called to a council in which we all showed our judgments of disliking the place, which were by all the captains taken so ill that afterward it was agreed by them all that the pilots should be no more in the council, which was executed. The 15th day of September, we departed from the Isle of Santiago and passed the equinoctial line. That would be the equator, I think. And in the latitude of 3 degrees to the south, our general died, where, with many contrary winds and rain, the season of the year being very much past, we were forced upon the coast of Guinea, falling upon an headland called Cabo de Spirito Santo. That Cabo would be Cape of the Holy Spirit. The new general commanded to bear up with Cape de Lopo Consalves, there to seek refreshing for our men, which we did, in which place we landed all our sick men, where they did not much better, for we could find no store of victuals. The 9th and 20th of December we set sail to go on our voyage, and in our way we fell with an island called Isla da Nobon, where we landed all our sick men, taking the island by force. Their town contained some 80 houses. Having refreshed our men, we set sail again, at which time our general commanded that a man for 4 days should have but 1 pound of bread, that was a quarter of a pound a day, with a like proportion of wine and water, which scarcity of victuals brought such feebleness that our men fell into so great weakness and sickness for hunger that they did eat the calves' skins wherewith our ropes were covered. Fairly desperate situation. The 3rd of April, 1599, we fell in with the port of St. Julian, and the 6th of April we came into the Strait of Magellan to the first narrow, so down the bottom of South America. And the 8th day we passed the second narrow with a good wind, where we came to an anchor and landed on Penguin Island, where we laded our boat full of penguins, which are fowls greater than a duck, wherewith we were greatly refreshed. The 10th we weighed anchor, having much wind, which was good for us to go through. But our general would water and take in provision of wood for all our fleet, in which strait there is enough in every place, with anchor ground in all places, 3 or 4 leagues one from another. In the meantime, the wind changed and came southerly, so we sought a good harbour for our ship on the north side, 4 leagues off Elizabeth's Bay. All April being out, we had wonderful much snow and ice with great winds. For in April, May, June, July, and August is the winter there, being in 52 degrees half by south the equinoctial. Many times in the winter we had the wind good to go through the straits, but our general would not. We abode in the strait till the 24th of August, 1599. On the which day we came into the South Sea, where 6 or 7 days after, in a greater storm, we lost the whole fleet one from another. The storm being long, we were driven into the latitude of 54 degrees half by south the equinoctial. The weather breaking up and having good wind again, the 9th of October we saw the admiral, of which we were glad. 8 or 10 days after, in the night, having very much wind, our foresail flew away, and we lost company of the admiral. Then, according to wind and weather, we directed our course for the coast of Chile, where the 9th and 20th of October we came to the place appointed of our general in 46 degrees, where were set up a pinnace and stayed 28 days. In this place we found people with whom we had friendship 5 or 6 days, who brought us sheep, for which we gave them bills, and knives, and it seemed to us they were contented. But shortly after they went all away from the place where our ship was, and we saw them no more. 28 days being expired, we set sail, minding to go for Valdivia. So B and V interchangeable here. So we came to the mouth of the Bay of Valdivia, and being very much wind, our captain's mind changed, so that we had directed our course for the Isle of Mocha. The 1st of November we came to the Isle of Mocha, lying in the latitude of 38 degrees. Having much wind, we durst not anchor, but directed our course for Cape Sancta Maria, 2 leagues by south, the island of Sancta Maria, where, having no knowledge of the people, the 2nd of November our men went on land, and the people of the land fought with our men and hurt 8 or 9. But in the end they made a false composition of friendship, which our men did believe. Yes, that's the natives. I think it was the Mapuche tribe. The next day our captain and 23 of our chief men went on land, meaning for merchandise to get victuals, having wonderful hunger. 2 or 3 of the people came straight to our boat in friendly manner, with a kind of wine and roots, with making tokens to come on land, making signs that there were sheep and oxen. Our captain, with our men, having great desire to get refreshing for our men, went on land. The people of the country lay entrenched 1,000 and above, and straightway fell upon our men and slew them all, among which was my brother Thomas Adams. By this loss we had scarce so many men whole as could weigh our anchor. So the third day, in great distress, we set our course for the island of Santa Maria, where we found our admiral, whom when we saw our hearts were somewhat comforted. We went aboard them and found them in as great distress as we, having lost their general with 27 of their men, slain at the island of Mocha, from whence they departed the day before we came by. Here we took counsel what we should do to get victuals. To go on land by force we had no men, for the most part were sick. There came a Spaniard by composition to see our ship. And so the next day he came again, and we let him depart quietly. The third time came 2 Spaniards aboard us without pawn to see if they could betray us. When they had seen our ship, they would have gone on land again, but we would not let them, showing that they came without leave, and we would not let them go on land again without our leave, our permission. Whereat they were greatly offended. We showed them that we had extreme need of victuals, and that if they would give us so many sheep and so many beeves, they should go on land. Beeves. So against their wills they made composition with us, which within the time appointed they did accomplish. Having so much refreshing as we could get, we made all things well again, our men being for the most part recovered of their sickness. There was a young man, one Hudkopi, which knew nothing but had served the admiral, who was made general, and the master of our ship was made vice admiral, whose name was Jacob Quaternack of Rotterdam. I think it was Quackernack, actually. So the general and vice admiral called me, and the other pilot, being an Englishman, called Timothy Shotton, which had been with Mr. Thomas Candish, that's Cavendish, in his voyage about the world, to take counsel what we should do to make our voyage for the best profit of our merchants. At last it was resolved to go for Japan. For by report of one Dirk Gerritson, which had been there with the Portugals, woolen cloth was in great estimation in that island. And we gathered by reason that the Moluccas, the Spice Islands, and the most part of the East Indies were hot countries where woolen cloth would not be much accepted, wherefore we all agreed to go for Japan. So leaving the coast of Chile from 36 degrees of south latitude, the 27th of November 1599, we took our course directly for Japan and passed the line equinoctial with a fair wind, which continued good for divers months. In our way we fell with certain islands in 16 degrees of north latitude, the inhabitants whereof are man-eaters, cannibals. Coming near these islands and having a great pinnace with us, 8 of our men, being in the pinnace, ran from us with the pinnace, and, as we suppose, were eaten of the wild men, of which people we took one. Yeah, there's a note about this eventful and disastrous voyage. Okay. Which after, find the next page, which afterward the general sent for to come into his ship. When we came into the latitude of 27 and 28 degrees, we found very variable winds and stormy weather. The 24th of February we lost sight of our admiral, which afterward we saw no more. Nevertheless, we still did our best, directing our course for Japan. In the Lifte, the ship's name was Lifte. The 24th of March we saw an island called Una Colonna, at which time many of our men were sick again, and divers dead. Great was the misery we were in, having no more but 9 or 10 able men to go or creep upon their knees, our captain and all the rest looking every hour to die. The 11th of April, 1600, we saw the land of Japan, near unto Bungo, that's in Kyushu, at which time there were no more but 5 men of us able to walk. The 12th of April we came hard to Bungo, where many barks came aboard us, the people whereof we willingly let come, having no force to resist them, at which place we came to an anchor. The people offered us no hurt, but stole all the things they could steal, for which some paid dear afterwards. So that, yes, the 19th of April, 1600 is when, according to the Gregorian calendar, they arrived. But anyway, he gives it as the 12th of April. At this time, Britain was still using the Julian calendar. The next day, the king of that land sent soldiers aboard to see that none of the merchants' goods were stolen. The king would be the daimyo. Yeah. 2 or 3 days after, our ship was brought into a good harbour, there to abide till the principal king of the whole island had news of us. That would be Tokugawa Ieyasu, and until it was known what his will was to do with us. In the meantime, we got favour of the king of that place, the local daimyo, to get our captain and sick men on land, which was granted. And we had an house appointed us, in which all our men were laid, and had refreshing given them. Yeah, they arrived at a place called Kuroshima, a small island in Usuki, in Bungo area of Japan, in Kyushu. I was there the other day, and yeah, very interesting, very small island. After we had been there 5 or 6 days, came a Portugal Jesuit with other Portugals who reported of us that we were pirates and were not in the way of merchandising, which report caused the governors and common people to think evil of us, in such manner that we looked always when we should be set upon crosses, which is the execution in this land for thievery and some other crimes. Thus, daily, more and more, the Portugals incensed the justices and people against us, and 2 of our men, as traitors, gave themselves in service to the king, being all in all with the Portugals, having by them their lives warranted, guaranteed. One was called Gilbert de Conning, whose mother dwelleth at Middleborough, who gave himself out to be merchant of all the goods in the ship. The other was called John Abelson van Ovata. These traitors sought all manner of ways to get the goods into their hands, and made known unto them all things that had passed in our voyage. 9 days after our arrival, the great king of the land, Ieyasu, sent for me to come unto him. So taking one man with me, I went to him, taking my leave of our captain and all the others that were sick, commending myself into his hands that had preserved me from so many perils on the sea. Yeah, I think he was accompanied by Melchior von Zandvoort. I think that was his name. I was carried in one of the king's galleys to the court at Osaka, where the king lay about 80 leagues from the place where the ship was. The 12th of May, 1600, I came to the great king's city, who caused me to be brought into the court, being a wonderful costly house gilded with gold in abundance. Coming before the king, he viewed me well and seemed to be wonderful favourable. He made many signs unto me, some of which I understood and some I did not. In the end, there came one that could speak Portuguese. By him, the king demanded of me of what land I was and what moved us to come to his land, being so far off. I showed unto him the name of our country, and that our land had long sought out the East Indies, and desired friendship with all kings and potentates in way of merchandise, having in our land divers commodities, which these lands had not, and also to buy such merchandises in this land, which our country had not. Then he asked whether our country had wars. I answered him, Yea, with the Spaniards and Portugals, being in peace with all other nations. Further he asked me in what I did believe. I said, in God that made heaven and earth. At this time, was he talking about our country as Britain or as the Netherlands being on a Dutch ship? Not quite sure. In the latitude of 8 and 30 degrees. Sorry, let's go back. What was that? In this place, we found people with whom we... oh no, sorry. I was going backwards there. Ah, okay. So there we are. This is where it continues. What it's a problem with PDFs sometimes. I said, in God that made heaven and earth. Right, that's it. And he asked me divers other questions of things of religions and many other things, as what way we came to the country. Having a chart of the whole world, I showed him through the Strait of Magellan, at which he wondered and thought me to lie. Thus, from one thing to another, I abode with him till midnight, and having asked me what merchandise we had in our ship, I showed him all. In the end, he being ready to depart, I desired that we might have trade of merchandise, as the Portugals and Spaniards had. To which he made me an answer, but what it was I did not understand. So he commanded me to be carried to prison, but 2 days after he sent for me again, and inquired of the qualities and conditions of our countries, of wars and peace, of beasts and cattle of all sorts, and of the heavens. It seemed that he was well content with all mine answers unto his demands. Nevertheless, I was commanded to prison again, but my lodging was bettered in another place. All right, so that is his letter to his wife. There are several other letters written by Adams here. Um, this one, the letter to his wife, which I've just read, would have been sent when exactly? Well, doesn't state it here, but I think it was probably sent in the same time as the previous one, which I've already read, which was 1611. So a long time after he landed in 1600, finally got a chance to, yeah, send a letter, or two letters. All right, I think I will stop here. I hope that was of interest. And I'll see you again on another occasion. Thank you very much if you have persevered as far as here.